Mixing the mind. Learning meditation is hard because it can be boring. It's like trying to thread a needle. There's just no easy way to do it except somehow just to do it. For starters, you have to learn to focus and concentrate. Often the breath is what we concentrate, but here's the problem. Going off and sitting in a corner somewhere on a cushion, focusing on your breath, is kind of foreign to most of us. Perhaps it's a bridge too far. Of course, it eventually works, but in the meantime, there's a great chance we will give up. Abandon trying. Instead, try mixing your mind practice with something that you already are doing, something that requires, concentration and focus. It came as kind of a revelation to me when the Tibetan Dharma teacher that I've worked with for some 30 years pointed it out to a group of us that sitting in front of a computer was a good way to learn some of the basics of meditation. Well, as a computer programmer, of course, that totally got my attention because I sit in front of a computer a lot, probably more than is healthy for me. So I was all ears. Chances are that most of us already have learned to concentrate in this same way in some area of our life. So all we need to do is figure out that area, what that area is, and you're halfway there. Plus, with any kind of luck at all, you already like the area in which you do concentrate, or at least the area in which you've learned to be patient with. You already are somewhat of an expert, so the hard part's done. As mentioned, for me, it was programming a computer. Programming takes attention, concentration, and discipline. And rather than the few minutes or half an hour or even an hour that I might manage to squeeze out of my schedule for some kind of daily meditation practice, with computer programming, I was often gladly doing it 8 hours or more a day. Now think on that. This, my friends, is 8 hours is real practice time. It's the kind of time needed to develop a solid meditation practice. As I used to tell myself, Michael, you're never going to get to heaven by going to church once a week on Sunday for an hour or so. It's going to take a lot more time than that to save me. So here it is. I was already an expert at holding my body perfectly still, focusing the mind on programming and keeping it focused. How is that any different from focusing on the breath or a stick or a pebble or a spot on the floor? It isn't. Focus is focus. Concentration is just concentration. Yet programming is not spiritual, right? I mean, I have to say, well, what is spiritual? What is spirituality? That whole idea of spirituality and a bus ticket will get you a ride. We've all heard of books like Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. So the Zen Buddhists have shown us clearly that there's no subject that is somehow not spiritual. No subject that you can't mix your mind with practice meditation. Although I would imagine some are easier than others. Now, am I telling you to give up formal sitting meditation and throw away your cushion? No, not a bit. Keep it up. But what I am suggesting is that you consider supplementing your formal meditation with some area of your life where you already have learned to focus and concentrate. When you find that area, how do we turn it into meditation? And that's what I'm talking about here. It's really easy. Since you already have mastered the hard part, which is learning to focus, to concentrate, Once you have found an area in your life where you already can focus your attention, then just practice letting the mind rest in that. For example, as you tense up with focus, be aware of that and allow the mind to just relax into rest. You know the great saying, I think maybe Trumpa came up with it, relax as it is. Just be aware of it. We want to hold our attention fixed on whatever we're concentrating, but we also want to let the mind rest in that. This too is just, quote, practice, unquote. But you are establishing a habit of allowing the mind to rest in the awareness of what you are doing. And this is all just a perfect part of meditation. That's what it's all about. And the best thing is that if you have been concentrating with focus in some area of your life for a long time, you have already built a habit identical to practicing meditation. All you have to do is to recognize and to realize this, to be aware of it and make it a conscious practice. So all the hard part's done. And meditation practice is just that. It's a practice, learning the habit or the discipline of focusing the mind. Practice is never, Dharma practice is never meditation. Even practicing meditation. Only meditation is meditation. Meditation practice is the scaffolding that we use to learn the habit of meditation. Once we learn how to meditate, we stop practicing and we just meditate. We sit still or whatever, but we are meditating rather than practicing meditation. There's no more trying. We're done. Now, the chances are you may already be doing something like meditation and just not be aware of it. So become aware of it. Do it consciously and begin to mix your mind training with whatever you already know how to concentrate on. And we might, ask, well, what type of activities are right for this? Again, in the Zen tradition, there's no activity that's wrong for mixing your mind training with. It could be as simple as running the laundry, putting out the garbage, doing the bills, taking a shower, you name it. It is best if we can find some area of activity where we really have to focus and that we've been doing so for a very long period of time. And it is easier if it's an activity that takes some real time so that you can settle into it. Look around you in your life and see what requires you to be present and focused, and start with that. It could be whatever you are really good at or love to do. For example, I totally mix my mind with photography, for instance. Are there more advanced ways to mix the mind? Yeah, of course. There are all kinds of advanced forms of meditation. Ultimately, one mixes the mind with the mind of one's teacher. But for starters, find something that you're already familiar with and go from there. If you have interest in hearing more on this subject, there are other audio blogs that cover this. In the meantime, here are a couple of poems that were fun that I wrote. The first is about trying too hard to meditate, and it's called Testing the Rest. And the rest here means allowing the mind to rest. Learning to rest the mind really puts my practice to the test. So sometimes I just need to take a break and simply get some rest. And then here's another poem about letting the mind rest. It's called The Rest of the Mind. You cannot rest the mind, but you can let the mind rest. Just let go and don't mind the rest.